Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 177 of the High Sensitivity Podcast. And thank you for listening. If it's your first time here, we talk about video game movie news as well as we watched or played over the week. My name is Barry, along with my co hosts.
My name is Craig. I guess enjoying this fall weather while it's still semi bearable before winter.
My name is also Craig. I wouldn't even say it's bearable. It's been raining like every day. It's
Yeah, it's true.
obnoxious.
I do
Just
love
bring on winter.
temperature wise, though. This is good. This is good temperature. I love this temperature.
Like
Like,
60s.
yeah, 60s sweater, some
Mm-hmm.
jeans or something
Hmm.
like that. Like, this is the stuff. This is the where I thrive.
As he
And
sits there in a tank top.
Yep, I
yeah,
thrive in this.
and to combat gamers guilt, a rainy day makes you feel less bad about playing video games. I don't know if I made up a term with gamers guilt, but
I mean, you're not wrong. I didn't move from my gaming chair this weekend.
So, with all of that being said, because we did a lot, let's talk about the news this week. I
let's
don't
go.
have a lot as I continue to go over what we found in the news this week, but two of the things I did find was the co-founder of Platinum Games and one of the directors of Bayonetta, Hideki Kamiya, leaves the studio.
Hmm.
Kind of interesting considering the success that Platinum Games has recently been having. While Bayonetta 3 didn't review as highly as the other ones did, or especially 2, it was a good, it's a good game and it sold a lot on Nintendo. So I do wonder what Platinum is deciding to do or what made him leave, whether it was a certain direction with one of their games or something like that. But overall, especially with someone who was so big into Bayonetta, it kind of sucks to lose him to that series.
Yeah.
Maybe he's making his own studio. That's what it seems like a lot of directors are doing at this point.
Hmm.
But I hopefully this just doesn't mean a huge, I guess, bump in the road for whatever game they're developing.
Yeah, as long as it's not a Hideo reason for leaving, that we find out in his memoirs later, something along those lines. But you're right. Everybody is taking a different direction by making their own studio, especially when they have that large of a creative resume like he does.
True.
And then lastly for me is the Sony and PlayStation 5 have rolled out a upgrade program for anybody who has recently bought a PS5. If you did, you're actually entitled to a free game. And these
Sweet.
games include Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales or Marvel Spider-Man Remastered, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, Demon Souls, Last of Us Part 1, Sackboy Big Adventure, Returnal, Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection, and Death Stranding uh, Director's Cut. That's a good list of games that you get to pick from.
That is insane. I was going to make a joke and say that's a bad lineup, but you can't even joke about that. That's just a
Is
fantastic lineup.
If
that
you
just for
guys
recent purchases?
Yes, recent purchases.
Mm.
And the promo is going until October 15th, I
Okay.
believe. I was just going to pose the question here. If you guys were new to the PS5, what game do you think you'd go with?
Oof.
Ooh,
I mean, Spider Man's always a good pick.
it is.
Um, I don't think I'd do God of War Ragnarok. I don't know.
I,
Accessibility wise, probably Spider Man, but Demon Souls is
yeah,
good too.
Hmm.
I see. I was thinking Demon Souls. I don't know why, because Demon Souls was what we had to play as one of the one or two or even three, if you were able to get a PS5 originally. So I don't know, maybe branching out from that, but I mean, there's some sequels in there that if you were able to play the original on, you know, older gens, maybe Forbidden West. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not
Yes.
Sackboy.
No,
See,
I
not
like
Sackboy.
Sackboy, but not Sackboy.
No.
I would pick Forbidden West just due to the amount of time that you can get out of Forbidden West. Though I would say, imagine the PS5 had launched with this game set here. Like that would be nuts.
It would
Like
be.
nobody would complain about, oh no, there's not enough games at launch. Like all of these games are
It's,
fantastic games.
yeah,
So it would
Yeah.
just be a matter of what you end up liking and what you gravitate toward. Like for me, just knowing what we know about all these games, like I'd get the most out of Horizon Forbidden West because of how much time I've put into it, even without the DLC. But that's all I had for news. If you guys want to get
Okay.
into your sections.
I got a couple things here. Some Xbox stuff. Since we're doing PlayStation, we could do some Xbox.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys saw we're gonna say supposed leak of the new design of the Xbox. The circular. I don't even know what you call that. It kind of looks like a Dyson purifier. Um, no disk drive, which I think was one of the big things there, and just a completely circular instead of the square. But in with that as well, they're set to release a new controller, apparently to rival the DualSense next year. And my initial thought was like, well, they have one. It's the Elite controller, but this seems like they're going more towards the haptic feedback side
Yeah.
of the controller. Um, I mean, I think we all have the Elite controller, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Which I think is the best controller I have.
It is.
Uh,
It is.
Um, but I would be
Hands down.
interested to see what the new one looks like.
Or what it offers just in general.
Right. Haptic feedback is cool on the PlayStation controller. I like it
It
more than
does.
I thought
Yeah.
I would.
And it's used correctly in enough games that makes it worth it as
Hmm.
well. So that would be very interesting to see Xbox rival that.
Right.
Very.
Yeah. And then tying in on that as well, this is bad news for the three of us, but for everybody else, apparently not. Over half of the Xboxes bought so far are the non-disc version, the S, and 70% of full game sales on PlayStation are digital now. Again, for us, terrible news as physical collectors, but makes sense when Xbox is looking at a redesign without a disc drive. What do you think the next Xbox and PlayStation, no disc?
It feels like that's where we're going, but I
Yep.
do
Yeah.
feel like there is a portion of the communities that will still want hard discs.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm not sure if you guys have been in like one lately, but like my local Best Buy, like that Xbox section, it's not an Xbox section anymore. There aren't any real games. It's all digital cards now, so it's a little different now. So it just seems like they're definitely pivoting toward the digital portion of things. Where a couple comments I want to make about like one, the circular design. I hate it. I hate the circular design because
Mm.
imagine you don't have enough room to like put that thing in one of the little cabinets and whatever furniture you
Right.
have. Like you would like you're not placing that thing horizontally because it's just gonna roll unless like they give
Yeah.
you. I guess they'd have to give you rubber stoppers of some
Or like
sort
some
to
sort
keep
of
it.
stand to set
Yeah,
it in so it's
yeah,
not
to
rolling.
keep it from rolling around. But I just find the
Mhm.
design stupid. But maybe that maybe
And it
that's
might just be a concept as well.
yeah.
Um,
Of course.
yeah, I don't.
What
Go ahead.
what does the discless future look like for people like us? Do you think that they offer in like a deluxe edition just like the outer casing so you can feel like you could put
Probably.
it in your bookcase? Is that what they do for us?
They're doing that now, giving you the steel books without a disc.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
They are.
And I don't know
Much
if
to our
like you,
dismay.
yeah. And if you notice too, like when you're installing games anymore, I notice it more on Xbox, but there's like nothing on those discs. You're
Yeah.
downloading almost everything from their servers
Mhm.
when you put the disc in. So it's not like I mean, it's just there for us to look at. They're not even bothering to put the game on the disc anymore. So I do feel like, I mean, Xbox is saying 2028 for the next console. I could see them going all digital, but again, I could see a big pushback again, like it always has been, and maybe they cave. I'm gonna say, one more version of systems before they go all digital.
Yeah, and by that
Okay.
time, we're gonna be like just jacking ourselves into the internet, like it's
Yeah.
a VR
Yeah.
headset. Yeah,
It'll be
I
like a
mean,
cyberpunk kind of thing at that point.
they definitely push you that way. Like this is the second year Call of Duty has done a week early to the campaign if you buy it digitally. And I
Mhm.
didn't do that last year, but now I was looking at it like, oh, maybe I should. Because I don't. My main reason has always been, what if I want to trade it in? But
Yeah.
I can't even tell you the last time I traded in a game anymore. Like I have not done it in a couple of years. So that's why I was like, you know what? Maybe I do buy the Call of Duty one digital this year. Then I don't have to worry about shipping issues, which are a hassle no matter where you buy it from.
Yes.
Being able to play right away at midnight if I so choose, or whatever time they decide to drop it. And it's just ease of not having to switch discs. I hate how I sound right now, but
Well, like there's another thing too. What about roommate couple situations? Like my wife and
Mhm.
I game, your wife and you game.
Yep.
So if we're trying to get one copy of something, with the exception of like Spider-Man where we're getting two, but like if we're trying to get one copy so that maybe I can play it and then she could try it. I mean,
Yep.
we have different games we're into, and some that we share. So for that, what do you do? Do you offer a digital copy with a shareable feature where you spend maybe an extra, I don't know, 30 to 35 and it
Yeah.
comes with two copies? Or like how do you do that? Do you do what the I mean, that's why I like DVDs now. Is you have, like I give my digital code to my parents half the time, when I'm
Mhm.
getting, sorry, Blu-rays, sorry, not DVDs. What year are we in? When I'm getting Blu-ray copies, that's what I like. I like getting the DVD copy, for somebody who still has one in addition to the digital copy to be able to kind of share. So what do you do for the consumer who is not that old, but like lost in the past with wanting to have that disc because they remember plopping one in the original Xbox and PlayStation as a kid and that being significant to them?
Yep.
I don't know.
True. I mean, you can do the share now, right? With your digital codes. I know you can do it on Xbox and PlayStation, but buy one copy. Obviously, you can't both play at the same time, but at
Yeah.
least you can buy one and still play it. That's probably
Yeah.
the solution. Maybe they start doing license like amounts. So like, hey, for $70 you can get the digital version, or for $90 you can get two uses or
Yeah.
something like that. That could be cool.
And the way you explain it too, the digital being able to share it and not playing at the same time mirrors what owning a disc is like as well. Because you can't
Yep.
with a physical disc, you can't play at the same
Right.
time. So
Right.
that's a
That
good
yeah,
point.
that could be a solution. Um, okay. Moving off of that stuff, I had to bring this up because I know this will interest Craig and I, and Barry. I would love to see you play this, but there's a game coming out called Scrylight, and I don't know if you saw this.
Mm,
This is a horror based game that is AR, so augmented reality.
Barry loves
But
that
not
game.
only that, but it is going to fully interact with your smart devices in your home, including your lights and everything else that's smart in your home, to give you a full horror experience in your home.
Let's go.
I'm in 100%.
No.
Barry,
Let's
I'll
go.
buy this for you.
No. Nope.
Let's
What do you think? What
go.
do you think?
I'll admit, I think it's creative, and I think it's
Yeah.
probably a good idea to like get more people in, or like get certain people who love the horror genre more into the horror genre. Not
Right.
me. That's about as far not Barry as you could go. Is
Are you
yes,
sure?
let's bring the horror inside of my home.
Yep.
Are you sure? I thought it was called Barry's Horror Corner. Like
That's what
that's what.
it's called. I just think it's a very cool idea that I'm surprised somebody
It
hasn't
is.
done before. I remember playing games on like my phone that would mess with your phone. But I
Hmm.
don't remember. That was a while ago. So this is kind of like the next step up. And everybody has smart devices in their home. And like the fact that like it messing with your light bulbs would be hilarious.
That
Like
would.
just absolutely hilarious. I'm 100% going to be trying that out for sure. It sounds
This
cool.
is like this is like the step up to scary games coming with bulbs that naturally break at certain parts in the game. You have to screw
Yep.
them into your lights, and they're made of like I don't know some like not sharp material.
That would be cool.
Maybe I'm thinking like 60 years into the future, not like next.
Maybe.
Oh
And
man.
then the last thing, I wanted to bring up the Payday 3 issues. I haven't personally played the
Yep.
game yet, but boy, that looks like it's a mess right now. The matchmaking has been down for a while. That was funny. I was reading the article, and even the developers are kind of like, "Yeah, we're aware. We're not really sure how to fix it right now. We're trying." Um, from what I can tell from watching a bunch of reviews today, it seems like it's reviewing well, but you just can't play it. And that's
Mm,
kind of a big deal when your game is online. Like you have to be online to play it. And
Hmm.
that's on top of the fact that people are already upset that when you first log into the game, you have to create an account just to play the
mm,
game, which I hate when games do that. It's so
yeah.
dumb. like make it optional if you want. Like that's fine. Like Ubisoft games, that's fine. If you want me to log into my Ubisoft account, I'll do that. But don't make me make a account for your Payday game. That's
Yeah.
initially what prevented me from downloading it right away. It is on Game Pass, but looks like we might need to wait to play
Yeah,
it a little bit.
Yeah, sounds like it.
that could be a
Specifically
fun
for
game
your
we all
Payday
play.
game.
What's that?
Yeah,
That could be a fun game we could all try playing.
Yeah, I think so.
we should really do that when the bugs calm down.
I
That's
don't think I've
sad.
ever really played Payday.
I, I downloaded it on my PlayStation 2 years ago, and I was
Okay.
like, I was fully prepared to pitch my wife to play it, and then I just forgot about it.
Yeah, I played the first one. I liked it. I like the
Okay.
concept of the teamwork and everything like that. Your first heist goes pretty rough no matter what you do because everybody's trying to learn
Sick.
everything. But
Yeah.
the more you play, the better you get at it, and it's pretty rewarding when you get good at it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll have to check that one out for sure.
yeah. Wasn't that? I know he's not necessarily popular now, but wasn't that Dane Cook that said nobody who doesn't want to be part of a heist back
Yep.
in the day, back in its heyday?
Throwing it way back.
That's sad for them though, because I know that there was already concerns about Payday 3 not being that different, being almost like an Overwatch kind of thing where it's Payday 1, 2.5 instead of 3. People were concerned about it not having much of a difference from 2. So it's a little bit sad to also hear that it's a rocky launch. But we've talked about on this podcast, when do we not have a rocky multiplayer launch for the most? Well, at least it happens more often than not, where it's almost
Yeah.
you can kind of expect it.
True. But that was the last of my news.
All right, I got one for Barry.
Uh-oh. Horror games.
Horizon Forbidden West board game.
Mhm.
I'll say that again because I almost texted Barry, but I wanted maybe the most candid response on the podcast that I possibly can get. Horizon Forbidden West board game. Apparently, there's a Kickstarter, or it will be launched on a Kickstarter to fund the campaign itself. It's going to be in combination with Steam Forge Games and Guerrilla Games. They're saying 1 to 4 players. It's going to be, quote, a narrative experience,
Yep.
Okay.
and hopefully as close to Aloy's story as possible. I'm excited for it a little bit.
So there is a Horizon Zero Dawn like board game already, and
Mhm.
it has a lot to do with kind of you end up taking control of characters and you face these monsters, kind of like in a D&D almost based role. It's kind of like a D&D thing where it's not like multiple days worth of sessions. It's a board game that you can complete in a day with you or your friends. I just remember because I did think about getting the Horizon Zero Dawn board game for a long time because it wasn't a bad price, but I think now that they stopped manufacturing it, it's quite more expensive than what
I'm
than my
saying
expectations.
$77 for the board game.
That's okay. No,
Hmm.
that sounds about right. I think I saw it at one point for like 40, if I
Oh,
remember
really?
right.
About
I know.
$40 to $60 for expansions too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, it was and that's what I mean. Like I understand that board games are very popular and they can become very expensive very quickly.
yeah.
It's just that I kind of miss the days where like you get a board of like Sorry, and it was maybe $20. Like it
Mhm.
always seems like the ones that were the simplest were the most fun. At least like when we played, like Apples to Apples, things like
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
Oh,
Like
that's a
those
good
games
time.
are just so easy to pick up and play. Where probably this game, along with kind of how D&D works, you probably have to give somebody a 20-minute explanation before you can even start playing.
Yes. And then you have to get 4 people's probably in their 20s or 30s busy schedules together to get together to do it. Whereas the other games are a lot more impromptu. And you're right, simpler is better. And the replayability, which sounds funny when you say it for a game like Sorry or something like that, the replayability is always there, So, um, do you know, before I go on, one last question for you, Barry? Do you know how long after the game came out, the first Horizon board game came out? Do you remember at all? Or at least when you got it in reference to when it came out?
So like I can definitely tell you I didn't hear about Horizon Zero Dawn board game until almost probably 3 years after. And it
Okay.
may have been out for a while longer, to be completely honest, but like it was kind of in the midst of me searching for board games and things like that I had found it. I didn't see
Got it.
no like a manufactured date or anything like that for that
Okay.
game.
All right. Interesting. Um, the only other thing I had was a bunch of new characters coming to season 6 of Call of Duty. Including but not limited to. I mean, they have a nice variety here. It looks like we're getting Spawn, we're getting Lilith from Diablo. We're
Yeah.
also getting Ash from Evil Dead 2 specifically. Inaris from Diablo as well. Skeletor and
Yeah,
Alucard from Helsing as operators.
This game is dead.
And yeah, but like here's my question because for somebody who's unlike Barry, at least I could say, stopped playing Call of Duty,
Yep.
um, and is kind of waiting for the new one. Like I don't know if I just w- wait to get the new one or if this is exclusive to season 6 on the current Call of Duty. Like I'm wondering that type of transition here. I didn't really see a lot in the article about whether it's going to be available in the new in the Call of Duty coming out.
Yeah, these are
Um,
yeah.
Warzone skins, right?
yeah,
Well, Warzone and multiplayer both have the same skins available
yeah.
for
Yeah.
you now. They should all carry over. They've already announced that those purchases are going to carry over.
That's Thank you for
So
clarifying.
you
No
shouldn't.
new Warzone anyway, right? With the new
Yeah,
game this year, it's the
No,
same.
yeah.
just yeah.
Yeah.
I keep seeing a lot of like retirement of Warzone. I'm not sure. Maybe they're switching the name or something like that now of it in the new game, but we will see.
I'm so done with Warzone at this point.
Oh yeah, I'm not going back to
It's
Warzone no matter what
terrible.
they do to it.
It's terrible. I feel like I got way more than I could have ever asked out of Warzone 1 and 2. But like I love the multiplayer this past year,
Yep.
but man, I could care less about Warzone and what operators they put in. Like they put in Tomb Raider, Lara Croft, and I'm like, okay, like cool. You're just turning into Fortnite at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. I don't know. I maybe would want to play as Lilith. That's
That's kind of
or maybe
cool. Yeah.
Ash.
Yeah.
I'm
I
not
don't
going
know.
to pay the money for it though.
No,
The $20 or $30 or
Yeah.
whatever it ends up
Exactly.
being. Nah, I'm good.
no. But yeah, that's all I had, gentlemen.
All right, so then for this week, let's get into the games in which hopefully we all played some games this week. I can say for me, I've restarted Cyberpunk 2077 for the
Sick.
ever since the update came out. I am very much into EAFC this year, and I've played Lies of P.
Okay. I have about 30-ish hours into Lies of P. I played Mortal
Okay.
Kombat 1 and I messed around a little bit with EAFC as well.
I don't know how you did that with 30 hours of Lies of P, Craig.
I told you I
I
didn't move
was
this weekend.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I was all Lies of P. I've been waiting for this game for a long time, so I have definitely a very, very I guess strong take on it. So good
Mhm.
take, but a strong take. So I was all Lies of P this week.
All right, so I will talk about the oldest game out of the bunch that we have here. Cyberpunk 2077 released its 2.0 update in ahead of a launch of Phantom Liberty DLC that's coming out later this week. And I have to say, like, my issue is, and maybe you guys can help me, is do I start a new save of Cyberpunk 2077 or start Lies of P? Now, I've been playing Lies of P. I was playing it right before I got on the podcast. So I'm in this rut now where what I don't want to do is stop playing Cyberpunk, start Lies of P, but then the moment something else comes out, I move away from Lies of P. I'm trying to stop that because
Yeah.
that's what's been happening the past couple weeks. But like impressively enough, Cyberpunk 2077 does have it does feel more complete this time around.
Mm,
The level tree that you have access to now is so much more expansive and so much more deep so you can cater your character to a play style that you want to.
okay.
With with it also comes a new ending as well, which seems to be the more canon ending of the
Okay.
series. So I just have to say overall, and I haven't even finished Act 1 yet for Cyberpunk. So with that being said, like I'm impressed to see that the game, like I'm running with no bugs. The game looks good still. Like it, I will admit it may take me a little bit to get used to like the shooting style or something like that, and maybe it gets better as I find better weapons. But overall, Cyberpunk I think is the game that people wanted. I think it's finally there because I am
Okay.
very much enjoying my time with it, and it's very hard to put down. Speaking of what it's competing against to put down, I will let you guys get into Lies of P. You guys have played more than I have.
The answer
Ooh.
is there is no wrong answer. Whichever one you like the most, just stick with it. That's the right answer. Just pick one.
Uh,
It doesn't matter which one it is.
Oh, Craig's got something to say about that.
You can.
I
Here's the
mean,
thing: Cyberpunk's older, right? But
yeah.
if that's what you're into, then play it right now. I'm the same way. I'm like I want to pick one game at a time, just like I did with Sea of Stars, and be like, all right, I'm going right into this. Nothing else exists for me outside of like the stuff you can jump in and out of, like FC or NBA or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But you should only have, in my opinion, like that one game that you're like solely
I'm not
focused
putting
on.
this down. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which
I,
for me is Lies of P.
so so the only reason I was smiling is that in the recent admittance of Barry about finishing games and his struggle with it, it would appear that Lies of P would be the timetable
Yeah.
better choice of the two if you want to complete more games before the end of 2023.
Right.
That's the only point I have. Other than that, I'm with Craig on do what your heart says. If your heart says I got to finish more games, well then I would maybe recommend Lies of P just because of the length versus because there's no way Lies of P is longer than Cyberpunk at all. Like not even
Yeah,
close.
no way. I think there's like 11 chapters, I think, in Lies of P. I think I'm on the end of 8 is where I'm at.
Dag you flew, man.
Here's the
We were neck
thing.
and neck for a while.
Here's the thing. Um, so I think this game is for me like it's pretty flawless from what I can tell. Um, there's a lot of like reminds me of the little I played of Bloodborne. I see a lot of Bloodborne. I see a lot of having just played through Demon Souls, what the beginning of this year or last year or whatever. I see a lot of these chapters that almost mirror what I played in Demon Souls. Like I'm playing
Mhm.
one, I'm like, oh, here's the one that's like all perilous walkways, and if I fall off, I'm dead. I did that in
Mhm.
Demon Souls, and then it's like, okay, here's the one in the sewers with the don't step in this because you'll get poison damage. Yep, I saw that in Demon Souls. Here's the one in like Decrepit Town. This kind of looks like Resident Evil 4. So it seems
Mhm.
like they kind of took a lot from different games and like, hey, we should do this, we should do this. But overall, I think it works so flawlessly for me. The combat feels good.
Mhm.
Um, I like the story. I still don't like with Souls like games where it's like you get these items and you're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with. I hate that. Like, just I think it does a little bit better of a job because when you go to pick like where you want to fast travel to, there'll be a little logo next to like, hey, you need to go here to do this thing. Like, I appreciate that it does that. All that being said, I've been like flying through this thing, having a good time, and then I hit the level 8, like chapter 8 boss, and I hit a wall, like heavy wall. And looking it up online, it seems like this is the one that everybody's like, yeah, this is probably the hardest boss in the game. And like I had to stop playing it yesterday because I was getting too angry. I tried it a couple times today and I was like, nope, it is not happening. Um, and that's the point where these games can kind of lose me a little bit, where it just feels like, all right, you made this boss so incredibly difficult to the point where I feel like I'm doing everything right, but there's just nothing I can do. It's almost unfair. And I know there's a balance you need to hit there, but I feel like it's too far over on this boss for sure.
Yeah. I agree. No, sorry. I agree with I know that yeah didn't make it sound like it, but I agree with a lot of your points. We were texting each other on the wall that we both hit.
Oh yeah.
Um
Was that like
I
the
don't know
fourth
what
one or something?
yeah, so number one, Dark Soul or Souls like games depict the best cathedrals
Yep.
or cathedral moments there's always almost always a cathedral moment, and they do such a good job with like falling from grace. You usually fight something pretty terrible in there that
Yep.
usually kicks your butt for a bit. I know that's a segue from my general point. Uh, the game itself is, in my opinion, also pretty flawless for the most part. It handles well. You feel like a doll
Yeah.
in your movements as well. There's a little bit of a lack of fluidity with fluidity. I personally, the only times I've really hit walls I've found have been mistakes at myself as a player, but I do see the what are we doing here? This is too hard of a boss moments. And when I say like saying that, what I mean necessarily is the one that literally we just talked about with the cathedral one. I realized that I had something equipped I shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
When I changed that and I switched up the weapon I was using, I squeaked by with that particular boss, and that's kind of how Souls likes makes you feel, especially when they hit the roadblock bosses. But the environments are great. You're correct. They take a bunch of different things, a bunch of different inspirations from Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne. There's all kinds of stuff sprinkled in there. There's even, if I can add one, the one where you approach a area where you have to descend a great distance that will clearly kill your character. It's usually after you fought tooth and nail to get there, and you
Yep.
have to inch your way as you're descending to land on the platform so that you don't die. You do, you go back and you have to do the whole thing again. Um, all the nuances that you like when you're playing those type of games and that keep you on the edge of your seat until you reach the next save or the next area that is safe. Bosses are great. Where I and I don't know, I'm only in Act 5. I
Mm-hmm.
think at the end of Act 5. I think where it loses me a little bit, where other Souls games come into play, specifically Bloodborne, if I can make the comparison, is the enemies don't have as much of a variety, but I also have not gotten into the further acts.
Mm-hmm.
Bloodborne, I remember getting through 60% of the game, and they put this enemy that had not been in any of the other areas, and that chilled me to the bone, um, fighting it. And it was a normal enemy. And then when I got past that area, you never saw that enemy again. And that's what those games are able to do so well. With this one, it's kind of like a puppet, and then other enemies. I don't want to ruin it for anybody who didn't see anything other than a puppet type of enemy, but there is a variety there. But I know it's not sounding like I'm liking the game. I'm liking the game a lot. I don't know how Lords of the Fallen is going to compare because I'm essentially trying to beat this game before Lords of the Fallen.
Yep.
But it's a well crafted game. The lie system still hasn't really shown its purpose yet, but that sounds like an end game thing.
Yeah.
There's
I think
nice
there's
Pinocchio.
multiple endings. I think.
There are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I like the Pinocchio references in there. The Geppetto reference, Jiminy the Cricket, who has his moments where he's talking to you. He kind of brings just a little bit of a comedic relief sometimes, or an enthusiastic relief to a dark world. But it's a great game. I'm glad we waited. I would have bought this game and been happy buying it, even though I'm playing it on Game Pass. So I think, barring any crazy like not sticking the Sea of Stars ending, I think it's a fantastic play, and I think everybody should try it, especially if you want to just give it a whirl on Game Pass.
Yeah. Definitely worth it. This might, unless I just get like super frustrated with this boss I'm on and never finish it, like this one will probably be a sneaky top 3 for me. Honestly, it's
Oh,
so
top
far up there.
three.
It was like I was playing it all this weekend. I'm like, man, this is either like top 1 or 2 I've played all year. Then I hit that boss and it started like dropping a little bit because I'm getting frustrated. But I don't want to like take it out on the game because a boss is just too hard for me, I think. But also there needs to be a little bit of a like give and take where they I think like the first couple of bosses are easy, and then they go into that you get like your first boss without giving anything away that has like multiple variations, right? So
Mhm.
you beat it and you're like, okay, here comes the second version, and then they kind of keep doing that with each boss afterwards, where it's like you have to beat them twice. And the one I'm on is another one of those, and I'm just like the first version is not bad, and then you get to that second one, it's just like relentless attacking that if you don't perfectly parry, you're just dead immediately. And I'm just like, you know what? There's got to be a little bit of a give and take here. Like, you want me to beat your game, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is insane. Um, but I think I probably died probably at least 30 times already to this
To
boss. And
that
I'm
to
just
that to that
to
boss.
that
Yeah.
boss. Yep,
Yeah.
it's bad. But it's one of those things where I feel like maybe I just need to step away for like a day and like let me go back at it tomorrow with a fresh head and try a different strategy.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I need to do. But yeah, I think it's like this is a solid 9 out of 10 game for me. I don't have any issues with performance. Nothing. Like it's been smooth.
No. Yeah. It runs smooth. And you know what?
Music's good.
Music is good.
Mhm.
And how many games have all the three of us played where you give it the day, you come back, and then you almost one shot
Yeah.
or like one time the boss, like
Yep.
the first attempt back,
Yep.
you do it. So sometimes you do have to give it a day. I don't know. There's certain The only other gripe I have, and this could be just me, I think I spec'd wrong. So don't take my and I think I stayed too middle ground when you should go one way or the other with your spec. So hopefully respec comes my way soon. But there is like an uptick because you have your normal enemies, which eventually become cannon fodder based on
Yep.
what element you're using. Then they throw an elite enemy in there.
Yeah.
The elite enemies sometimes are ridiculous in
Yep.
comparison. And I honestly don't know if I'm specking wrong, but it becomes just the break in how long it takes to kill them. They're particularly spongy, but
Yep.
that's just me. That's me nitpicking. These games you get good. So that's what I
I
keep
just
telling myself every time I try to figure out, every time I get frustrated in those moments.
there was like in 8 where I'm at now, there's a moment where there is a enemy that you fought before that is a elite enemy, and it's right when you leave like a safe area, and you're like, okay, and you sit there and you beat it, and you're like, oh, I used a bunch of my heals. You go a little bit more, and then there's another one, and I'm just like, there is no way. So that at that point, I pulled the old. I guess this is what a Souls like idea. I just ran past them all. I'm
Yes,
like,
yes, it
nope.
There
is.
you
I'm like,
go.
draw them in, and then I just run a circle and
Heart
run by
pumping,
him. Yeah, I'm like,
heart pumping.
whoo, you ain't gonna get me. But yeah, I agree. Some of those enemies are super spongy, and like I
Mhm.
did a full like almost glass cannon, like all power build. That's what I'm using, and
I
even
got you.
then, like those guys are. I do more damage to the bosses than I do to them. Like I'm taking
Yeah,
chunks out of the bosses when I hit them, but those guys is like little slivers. So I just
gotcha.
run by. I just run right by them. I'm not even gonna mess with them. But overall, it's a good game.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, my early hours of Lies of P so far, like the main thing that I'm struggling with as of late is just the fact that unless the lie system or something like that really like starts to jump out at me, like this just does feel like another Souls game for me. Uh, and that's not a bad thing. I'm enjoying the game as far as I am, but I guess I just wanted something a bit more unique. I guess in a way, whether it was like Neo's mission style and the way that it's more fast paced. Uh, like as much as I just want like Bloodborne 2, it just feels like Lies of P isn't like it just isn't there just yet with what I wanted it to be, and whether it was because like while my character feels like it still feels like it moves like a Dark Souls character or an Elden Ring character. Like Bloodborne, in its own way, like it was fast. Like you were moving and you were quick paced. You were dodging. This one, like I can definitely tell the block system's been big. So I died to a couple bosses so far, just because I know I need to master this block system. So I gotta figure out the
Yeah.
timing. So I
Same.
think and
Mm-hmm.
I've been pretty successful so far with that strategy of thinking, but I'm the same way as you, Craig. Like none of my stats other than my like damage have eclipsed 30. Like everything right now is just in damage, just trying
Yep.
to mow down the rest of the fodder before the bosses. But yeah, um I am having fun with it, but like, you guys are mentioning which game should I play? I do feel like I'm having a little bit more fun with Cyberpunk
Play
as
it.
of the moment. But that's
Yeah.
because like I guess it's been so long since I played Cyberpunk, whereas Lies of P, kind of feels like Elden Ring.
Which I didn't play a lot of, and I didn't get to experience Bloodborne. So I think that's
Yeah.
why for me, I feel like I'm like, oh my god, this is what I wanted. I like Demon Souls, but this seems better. It's probably
Yeah.
because I didn't get Bloodborne or my
Yeah.
Elden Ring fix. Like I only played a couple hours of Elden Ring. I never beat the first boss still.
Yeah.
Yeah, like my yeah, I maybe I'm just a jaded old gamer. Maybe that's what I am now in my old
Jaded
age.
old gamer.
You're
So
the
it's
youngest out of all of us.
exactly, yeah. In
You
my old
kids get
age,
off
you
my
know, maybe
lawn, gamer.
you know, maybe I'm just jaded. And maybe it'll
Maybe.
eventually. I'm still gonna give it a couple more hours to figure it out. But the reason like I have these issues because I've been fighting with EAFC for my time.
Yeah,
Ooh, I like the transition. Get into that.
that was good.
Yeah, EAFC
That was
here.
good.
I will be forefront up with you guys. I did buy the Ultimate Edition. It really is worth the price when I looked at like what you're getting out of the game. Um, this is the first real big jump into FIFA that I've done in a while, and to be honest, I'm loving every second of it.
Nice.
Like and to be forefront, like GM mode is a lot of fun still. Like I love delving into the transfer markets, you know, figuring out I have 100 million I gotta spend, getting invited to international you know, tournaments and things like that. I love all of that. And I haven't played career mode yet, but apparently with the Ultimate Edition you get additional player like options for you, so I'm interested to see where those are. I will be honest, a majority of my time has been spent in Ultimate Team, and Ultimate Team, I'm going, you know, it is a gotcha forefront. You know, you pay money to get these cards of players that you really shouldn't care about. Because I got the Ultimate Edition, I got a decent amount of free like FIFA points, and it started my squad up really well. So I've been having fun with that because I've been able to start my squad up as well as I have. It's FIFA hasn't done something in a while where it gave me one of those moments where much like how when you guys defeat a tough boss in Lies of P or in Dark Souls, I played the greatest game of FIFA I've played in memory. I was yelling, I was, you know, screaming, running around because it was one of the toughest games I ever played. But it was worth it. Like it's those moments that make me remember like these sports games here. I don't get that in Madden. Madden, I don't get that. You know, Madden's a cheese ball game where you can run one play and pretty much win the game regardless. Football or soccer is not like that. It's there is no play you get to run that just becomes cheap. But overall, too, like the additions of the play styles, it did something that I really liked from a recent NHL game where it shows you when the play style like activates. So, for example, my midfielder Kevin De Bruyne, he has like the super accurate passing. When he does a super accurate pass and his play style takes over, it gives me a little icon that tells me that his play style is doing something. On a defender that's meant to be strong, like it gives you a notification when the his play style takes over and he muscles someone off of the ball, and it feels like it is game changing. Whether it is or not, I couldn't tell you between a player that has it and another player that doesn't. But it's really nice to see that feedback. I really like seeing the feedback in that the star players of soccer play like themselves. They play like stars, and that's something that it feels like these are always on, where in Madden the X factor has to be activated in order for them to really take on the games, when that's not really how any sport works. You know,
Yeah.
and I'll get into it, and I'm sorry I'm on a soapbox right now, but
I'll do it.
take Tyreek Hill for example. I'm a Miami Dolphins fan, so I'm going to use him.
Lucky
He
you.
does not he is fast and he is unstoppable every
All the
play.
time.
There
All
is
the
no like, oh, I have to activate his X factor in order to get him to be unstoppable. Like his speed and agility and everything like that are present in the game at all times. So why, like, FIFA and NHL have been doing this. Madden, of course, is the last one to make me feel like, you know, the stars don't feel like stars sometimes. And that's where, you know, it really lacks, and that's what I don't enjoy about it. I'll let you talk about it here, Craig, just because I know I've been on a soapbox. But
I love
EAFC,
your soapbox, man.
Yeah, it's
I've
good.
I've been loving. I've been loving it. There is no other word for it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't put as much time as you have. Obviously, I've just been kind of messing around with like the 10-hour trial that EA Play gives you. But like the first thing I noticed was the presentation just seems different and better. Like something about the way the games look. I'm like, oh, this is like not what I'm used to from a typical EA FIFA game. I was messing around with GM mode. I like how you can really dive in if you want to, or if you don't want to, you can kind of do bare minimum and still play the games if you want. Like that's good because somebody like me who's not like fully into it, I'm like, I don't know how much I want to mess with. As opposed to like if I'm playing like NBA, which I'm more familiar with, I'm like, yeah, let me really dive into GM mode and get crazy. But yeah, I mean, I'm not a very good player, soccer player, so I wouldn't say that I'm about to go hard into the ultimate team or something like that. But from what I've played so far, like it seems like an improvement, which I would not expect from a yearly game, honestly.
Yeah, and just to kind of further cement what like this game is doing well is Ultimate Team when I used to play it was a microtransaction gotcha like, and it was you played online, there was no other choice. Um what I really like about FIFA now is they're willing, like, instead of doing the whole gotcha thing, which it still is a part of it, there are, untradeable packs where they give you a chance to get the good players. And I have some good players that are untradeable, but I got those things because I'm completing their daily challenges or I'm completing a promo season thing that they're doing. Um, I really like the fact that there's just this single player online seasons mode where I can play against a computer version of other people's squads, and if I do well, I move up the ranks and I get prizes for it. It's a really rewarding system, I feel like, and they do a better job this year than I think ever before of rewarding those people who maybe don't want to put hundreds of dollars into the game. And
Yeah.
that's that's the thing. Like, you can have the microtransaction part, but you need to have the part where people who, especially kids who can't afford to, be buying all of these packs and afford all these good players, they have to have a chance to be able to compete, especially if they want to do online. And I feel like they're doing it better than ever before with these like untradeable systems and the squad building stuff where I can submit a squad, and as long as I fulfill the requirements, yes, I lose the players, but you can get a really good player out of some of this stuff as well. So just in general, and I think I've done this before with Madden talking about our podcast here, but it's been a long break for me since I got into EA. FIFA is what it was, and EAFC has grabbed me at the right point, and it's showing all of its changes to me, and I'm really enjoying
Is it the right point though when all these other games are coming out?
it. I meant
I
like
mean,
sports wise, not
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
not like
No,
right
you're
time
okay.
release season. I
good.
mean like right time is in like this feels to me like I can tell people, hey, I love this FIFA game, and I think you would too, kind of deal
Yeah,
there. Where, yeah, I
yeah,
admit it's releasing in a very crowded window. I don't like that either. But that's
yeah.
with all these sports games. All the sports games come out within a 2 month period.
yep.
And especially if you're a sports guy like me, it's really hard to balance it all. There is no
Mhm.
balancing it. That's the answer.
I mean, the good thing with sports games is they're so easy to put down and pick back up again, like a month
Exactly.
Yeah,
from now, or like, hey, I'm gonna go play Assassin's Creed, and then go back to EAFC when I'm done, or something like that.
you have to remember a story or anything like that. You're
Right.
like, oh, this is where
Yeah.
I'm at. Oh,
Or
I have the
or
playoffs coming up.
controls. Yeah. Um. So bad news for you, Craig, in this crowded space that we have of games right now.
Oh God,
Uh, if there was ever a game to pull me back into fighting games, boy, is it Mortal Kombat 1.
tell me about it.
It's
Tell us about it.
it's real good. Um,
Really.
I don't know, something like I have not played the past couple Mortal Kombats other than like a couple matches. And I know that Mortal Kombat is known for like a good story mode. But man, the story mode is super entertaining. I feel like they made the combos a little bit easier, and it's like super satisfying to pull off now. But it just like something about it. I'm trying to like juggle it in between Lies of P. And a fighting game is a good one to pick up and put down for sure. But yeah, man, it is like the characters look good, the combos are good, the fatalities are incredibly gross and disgusting, like they've always
It's good.
been. Um, the whole like picking a second partner, they call it a cameo, and you can kind of they don't fight for you, but you can have them jump in and perform a move, or they'll help out with your throws is a nice addition. Kind of like I'm used to since I'm a big Marvel versus Capcom guy, and being able to use the assist button just like that. But it just works so well. And like again, man, that story mode is so entertaining. I know they always are, but like it's so stupid and over the top, but it's cool. Um,
Yeah.
I hate that I'm playing this game and being like, man, I don't have time to put in to learn like characters and be decent at this game. But there's still a part of me that's like, yeah, but I could. Like I could enjoy doing that, but I
Yeah.
don't. I don't know. I'm tough. I feel like I might pick this one up when it goes on sale
Oh,
at
okay.
some point. I think I might just to have it.
I've been toying back and forth with
Yeah.
picking it up.
It's
And
worth 70. I almost said
yeah,
60. We're at 70 now. But man, if it goes on sale for like 30 or 40, that's a steal.
definitely gonna wait for that. Probably. But
Yeah.
I always like when a long standing good character has a bad story arc. That's why I liked Injustice for All. So seeing maniacal Liu Kang, that's why
It's
I wanted to
cool.
play. You
Yep.
know.
Or maybe I wait and pick up like the inevitable like big edition that comes with like all the DLC characters, because the one thing Mortal Kombat does right is bring in all the DLC characters. And like I haven't gotten the chance to use like Homelander or any of those people, but that sounds cool too. But yeah, it's real good. Real good.
That's good to hear.
Unfortunately. Yep.
Yeah, like for me, like I'm not gonna get that game, but I know it's just so much fun to watch people play too.
Yeah.
Like there's a degree of skill that I don't think I'll ever attain for fighting
Yeah.
games, and it's just fun to see people pull off combos and like the fatalities are just like it. It is one of the most, and I'm gonna say it this way, and it's gonna sound wrong, but like prettiest for the eyes, like
Yeah.
sort of fighting game because the fatalities are gruesome, but they're detailed and they're fun. Like there are these moments where, especially as a new player, you're gonna be like, "Oh man," like that kind of
Yep.
thing. Is you just split a man in half, or pulled his spine out and stuff like that. So, I will definitely like love to watch people play it as because it just looks so good. Um,
Yep.
there is a little drama with the Switch version, but the
Yeah.
studio has
Looks
come out and
terrible.
said that they're going to fix it. But again, like what else can not to make fun, but what else can you do with the Switch? Like
Yeah.
Yes.
you're limited by what that thing's power is, and I'm going to go with the developers probably looked at it and be like, not a lot of people are getting this on Switch. And that's probably right. This is probably, historically this has been a game that's always been on, and I think this is the first Switch port for Mortal Kombat because I don't think Mortal Kombat it was last year, wasn't it?
It
Yeah, they
was
had
last
another
year.
one.
Yeah.
This is why I don't get fighting games on the Switch, though. I just
Yeah.
refuse.
I just don't understand why they would even bother. Because like I'm playing this game and like I'm literally looking at it and being like, this is one of the best looking games I've seen on current gen yet. Not just fighting game, but just in general. Like it's gorgeous. So
Yeah.
like I don't know why they would look at it and be like, oh, we should probably put it out on the Switch. I can't imagine the sales are there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just don't even bother. Just be like, look, you want to
Yeah.
play it, you got to get an Xbox or a PlayStation. Period.
You know what would go great with this beautiful game? A Switch port.
Switch port. Terrible.
That's it. That's what the doctor ordered.
But yeah, is that it for games this week? Anybody else anything they want to talk about? Cool.
Don't think so.
So we'll then talk about movies and TV shows this week. To whereas for me, I don't know what it is. I'm in my Latin heritage mode now, so I'm watching a ton of stuff in
Yes.
Spanish. I'm watching Selena, the part like the series on Netflix. To be fair, I don't know much about Selena. I'll be the first one to admit that. Even though she is
Oh,
a cultural icon for my,
she is.
for my for my people's music. And then I was watching as well just because I was having fun with it today. John Leguizamo's Latin History for Morons. Uh, it's a
Oh
Netflix
wow.
like comedy special. It came out in 2018, but I just enjoy it. As someone who, and this is just particularly my upbringing, born, not born in America, born in Costa Rica, but came to America, learned in the American school system. It just there it, he was making fun of the fact that our school systems do not teach really anyone about Latin history. We get taught about Christopher Columbus and stuff like that. But I realized I went into my movies without asking you guys yours. I just that's I was so excited to
He
talk
was
about this.
ready.
I
He
guess
was
yeah,
ready.
I,
I
I had
mean, you could
fun.
do
Yeah.
yours first. That's fine.
You're all about transitions today, man. I
Yeah.
mean, you're a good transitioner anyway, but the segues have been fantastic specifically today, man. For real. I
Well,
didn't
for
even
games,
even mention our
for games, I
movies.
feel like I had that. Movies was a little different because I had all of these thoughts I had to get out. But that's
Barry, it was such a good segue. I wasn't even aware that Craig and I didn't talk about our movies yet. I was just
There you go.
listening to what
There
you're.
you go. He's like, yeah, this is interesting.
Yeah, yeah, go on.
but
I'm
yeah,
surprised you don't know.
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was gonna say I'm surprised you don't know much about Selena because, like, when you think like Latin crossover music, it's Selena and Gloria Estefan and the Miami Sound Machine. Like, those are like the two that really did
Hmm.
the crossover. I'm glad you're watching it. I think I just know because I had to watch Selena when I was a kid. They like played it at my school. I forget why. But I watched like the original Selena and got an idea of who she was.
Yeah,
But
and
anyway, Craig, why don't you? Oh, go
I
And
ahead.
didn't even get
Shakira, right?
Shakira.
Yeah, more
Shakira.
modern. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, she still
she's
counts,
definitely
right?
Yeah, she
she.
does.
Oh yeah, with crossover, yeah, she definitely
Hmm.
counts. She
Yeah.
definitely counts. My bad there.
She's an icon. Um, I thought you were still going, Barry. I was like all ready for you to say.
I can keep going.
Now that we brought Shakira in the
Go
mix,
ahead.
dude, keep
Go ahead.
going.
I guess the main thing here is for someone who sometimes has a hard time, I feel like I'm more American sometimes than Latin, and I want to feel more Latin about myself. Um, the Latin history for morons was funny, it was educational, it was entertaining, and kind of inspirational in a way. Um, you know, I didn't realize like how little I learned about my culture in all of my social studies class throughout my entire years of living. But it's true. We're all taught like United States history, but just as Latinos, and of course I figured this out during the special here, but Latinos have fought in every war that the United States has ever been in. Volunteer wise, they were generals, they were people who helped out during their wars, and it makes me feel like I could be Latin and American at the same time and still feel just as proud I am in my Latin heritage as American as well. So it's a bigger topic that I probably it made me think about, but don't have necessarily the correct words to put in to explain it. But overall, Latin Heritage Month, I've it's a good time to celebrate and learn about your history, and that's what I'm trying to do this month. Is do a better
I,
job of
res-
learning
I
more about
respect
my
that, Barry.
heritage.
I respect that, Barry. We're in a melting pot, and it is sometimes hard with American having its own specific blended society created from all these specific ethnicities to remember, or at least embrace your own ethnicity and part of you. Sometimes, we get caught up in the day to day work and, for us, video games and all of these other things that blend together. That it is really nice to just kind of learn about your own ethnicity through something like that, or any way that we can. So I respect that. Highly respect it.
But that's all I watched. What about you guys? What did you guys
Um,
watch?
I mean, I guess I could kind of tie into that. The first movie I watched was Blue Beetle.
Okay, yeah, Latin,
Do
Latin
it.
That
heritage.
counts,
Let's do
right?
this. Yeah,
Let's
it does.
go.
Uh,
Let's go.
I also watched No One Will Save You on
Oh, please
Hulu.
tell me about that one. But
But
do the
all
Beetle
right,
one first.
Blue Beetle. So Here's the thing about Blue Beetle. I enjoy the family in this movie a lot. It reminds me of like the family of Miss Marvel, right? Like
Okay,
it's that
yeah.
like close knit type of family. I think they nailed it in the family aspect of the movie. My issue with the movie comes from the fact that every DC movie to me still feels off. Something about it just feels like cheap, if that makes sense. Like it's just kind of like a very like him and his family, fantastic. His grandma, incredibly funny. His uncle is great. And then like I enjoy the Blue Beetle powers that he has. He can like make anything he wants. But then it just comes down to like the standard well, this lady over here wants to use it to rule the world type deal. And then they're going to go fight this big fight at a castle compound on an island. I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like I don't know what it is about DC and Marvel movies where I feel like Marvel, I can enjoy, but there's just something still about DC movies that I'm just kind of like, it's not quite there for me. I think it's a good movie. I just think it could have been better, and I hope that that character gets to stay because I enjoy Blue Beetle and the character, and I think he will. But the rest of it can kind of I don't need to watch that again if that makes sense. But if it's setting him up to be in future whatever James Gunn decides to do in the DC universe, then awesome. I think he could very well be a complimentary superhero like um, I mean, I would put him higher than like an Ant-Man, honestly,
Yeah.
because I feel like he
Oh,
has the
wow.
potential to be somebody important. And I think they did a good job with his character, but everything else about it, the villain was kind of meh. The this pretty standard uh, main guy that he's
Villainous.
fighting is just kind of eh. But yeah, it's an okay movie. I think you'll watch it once and not need to watch it again. I don't think you need to buy it or anything like that for sure. I just want DC to get it right. They show signs like the Batman movie. Like there's signs out there that they can do it. But then they put out these movies and I'm just like, you're so close. You're just like this far off. Just fix it a little bit. I guess we just put all our faith in James Gunn, right?
It seems like that's the only thing we
Uh,
can do now.
yes.
Yeah. And this I don't think this one he had any involvement in. I don't think. I think
No,
this
he
was
didn't.
before. Yeah.
And I think it's the same way with the new Aquaman movie coming out. Is like
Ugh,
we're still a
no.
little ways away from.
That looks terrible. I can't.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll be wrong, but that trailer did not give me any hope. No One Will Save You. This is on Hulu. This is a I guess you would call it's not really a horror movie, more of like a sci-fi. Has to do with aliens. Has no dialogue in it at all. People don't talk at all. Um, what I'll say is I think that like dude, the sound design watching this movie with like on like a whatever your main TV is, if you can have like a good sound bar or something, they nailed like the way the alien sound is so cool, and it's just like
Okay.
super bassy, and it reminded me of like the first
Ooh,
time I watched Signs.
okay.
You know,
I was
when
wondering
like
if you were
the
going to say Quiet Place or something like that.
kind of, but to me it was just like man I remember the first time I watched Signs and like it's outside their house and it's like stomping around and running around like it's that and I mean the presence the ending I had to kind of look it up because I was like I don't really know what's going on here, and after I looked it up I was like okay I kind of see what they're going for here, but it's one of those movies where they kind of leave it up to you to interpret what the ending means, which is fine. You don't have to like hold people's hands, but I enjoyed the ride. I thought it was done very well. The aliens are some of the CGI is kind of iffy, but it wasn't like super distracting. And I don't know. I thought it was good for a movie that kind of came out of nowhere. And I
Mhm.
was like, oh, that looks interesting. I'll check that out. Um, I mean, if you like, it's not horror. If you like sci-fi, I think it's a worth a watch. But you're gonna watch it, right?
So I've maybe I have to see. I'd have to
Yeah.
see some like trailers.
What
It doesn't. From what you're
I wouldn't
saying, it
even
doesn't
watch a
sound
trailer. I would just watch it.
What's the jump
okay.
scare meter?
There isn't any. Okay, so here's the thing.
I
I'll
was
try to
gonna say,
explain.
like, it doesn't sound like it's that bad.
It's not. So basically, like the basic premise of the movie, without giving anything away, there is a girl, and I recognize her from the movie Booksmart, but she lives in this house by herself. And again, nobody talks in this movie, so you got to infer a lot from what's going on. She lives in outside of town in this house by herself. The town hates her, and you kind of find out why during the movie. But
In there.
yeah, and aliens come to town, they possess the people in the town, and it's her just trying to like not be abducted. So you'll
Got
get
it.
like the scenes of like her in her house, and like they're trying to break into the house, they're trying to get her or whatever. But yeah, to me it's just like the sound is so good. It's like I don't know what they did or how they made those sounds, but it was like, man, you nailed that for sure. And there's different kinds of aliens. They all kind of look the same, and it's that standard alien look that we've seen for the past however many years, like the weird shaped head and the big eyes.
And the
It's
big
that.
eyes.
Like they didn't do anything new with the alien design, but yeah, I think it's worth a watch for sure. I think you should at least try it. I don't think it's
Okay.
going to make you not be able to sleep. If
Okay,
that makes sense.
let's
Yeah,
take
you
a,
guess
yeah.
you could watch a trailer and see what you think.
See, it's like the same thing with like Nope. Like,
Yeah.
I may just have to enlist someone's help to come help me watch this, like watch
There
these
you go.
movies. Because like one
Yeah.
thing that I do, like I want to try and watch The Quiet Place.
It's a good movie.
Because they're supposed to be really good movies, but again, my fear of being frightened or my disdain for being frightened stops me from sometimes enjoying these movies. Because like again,
Yeah.
it was at least Nope. There was this kind of I got super scared at the one moment where like the aliens were in his barn. Like that
Yeah.
part, I was like, no, no, nope, nope, nope. But then
Yeah.
like
Nope. Nope.
he does a really good job of offsetting that with like kind
Yeah.
of all of the wackiness that goes on for the rest of the film.
Sure.
Whereas some of these, and it sounds like it's not all about just being frightened all the time in this movie.
Not really. Yeah. It's more of just like, oh my god, everybody in the town is being abducted, and it feels like she's the only one left, and like they're being abducted and they're coming back down, and they're still like there in the town, but they're not acting normal, like they're being controlled,
Yes.
that kind of stuff. It's like that kind of weird vibe. It's just
Faculty weird.
yeah, exactly. Faculty is a good way to put it. It's just something different that like I like different takes on like suspense or sci-fi or whatever. And for whatever reason, like I'm a sucker for alien movies. I don't know why. I just like them. Like they're cool. They're just something
Yeah.
different. Originally, I was like, oh, this is a good start to spooky month coming up. Like, let's try this. And I'm like, it's not really spooky, but it was fun.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what I watched. What do you got?
Speaking of spooky month, I actually
Yes.
don't have anything spooky to talk about.
What?
I don't know. There's a bad segue.
Mm,
My wife and I recently got addicted to a show called Only Murders in the Building.
yes.
Oh yeah.
Which is also on Hulu. And the reason why I reacted to oh my god, I already forgot the name of it. The movie you were just talking about, Craig, is that with the Hulu commercials, they were just heavily advertising that, and I was
Yep.
very interested because every commercial break is
Yeah.
like advertising that movie. But anyway, Only Murders in the Building. It's a comedy specifically with Steve Martin, Martin Short, and then it also features Selena Gomez as well. It's a nice rounded cast, and they work well off each other, but it essentially is three people who live in an affluent part of New York City in a very wealthy apartment complex. They live all in the same building on different floors. They're all obsessed with crime podcasts, and a murder happens in their building. And they don't know each other prior to the murder, but they all seem to come together, bumping into each other frequently in the elevator and the lounge and all that other stuff. And then they try to solve the murder together. And it's a comedy drama, which I guess we could have all guessed with Martin Short and Steve Martin tandem in there. It's fantastic. If you want If you want a clue combined with the right type of comedic effect, where you bring some older drama with Martin Short and Steve Martin not understanding young lingo into some new type of comedic aspects where they bring in type of podcasting content creation, the funny things that happen with that. If you want out of this world cameos coming, you know, maybe one episode, maybe they're in for three, because you can imagine with those three they can get some people in. It's executive produced by them and additional people. I would watch this show. Half-hour episodes, 10 each season.
I
It's
hear it's
there's
good.
twist all the time. There's twist all the time because they're all the three, not to ruin anything, but they're not completely truthful with one another either, because that's what rich people are like. Sorry, not all rich people. If you're rich and listening to this show, I'm not talking about you. Um, but certain rich people can be that way, not divulging the full truth, that type of thing, because you have to put on a facade when you are rich and in that type of atmosphere. I highly recommend it. We can't put it down. We're only going to put it down for scary movies, but we can't put it down outside of that. So it's Only Murders in the Building. There's 3 seasons out, so it's not technically a 2023 thing unless you count the latest season, but we're quite powering through it. And I recommend it to people. Definitely a good one. Definitely.
It's been on my list forever. I just keep forgetting to start it. I gotta do it.
Yeah, that's how it was for us. And we were just like, we're like, let's just do it. You know, it was the afternoon on one of our days off, and we're like, let's just do it. And now we can't stop.
Nice.
So before we end the podcast, I do have to ask you, Craig, did you finish Ladies and Butlers? Ladies versus Butlers.
I have 2 more.
I finished with that. I finished with Ladies versus
Okay,
Butlers.
what's your final thought?
In the end, it does go for like, it feels like in the end it gets away from like all of the accidental nudity.
They're going
type
for that
stuff.
one romance, right? I see that blossoming.
Oh, well, I was gonna say, yeah, it's like that. They do end up blossoming that, and I think in a good way. In the end, like, I'm kind of glad the direction they took with the ending there, and it's not overly like sexual. It's just a good old fashioned. Nothing about this is normal.
Right.
It's anime. So
I mean, I feel like there's 2 major storylines, and correct me if I'm wrong, right? You have the main male character, and you have, in my opinion, who would you consider one of the main female characters, who is the girl with like the drill hair. Right?
Drills.
Yeah, drills. That's what. And you have their kind of like they hate each other, but they secretly like each other romance. And then you also have his roommate, right? As like the other storyline, kind of.
That's not his roommate. You mean like not his roommate, right? Or do you mean like the roommate?
The one who is, his roommate who's pretending to be a guy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so
those, to me, that's like the 2 main stories, right?
It goes in another direction with one of them. So look
how involved we are in this show. This is ridiculous.
I think you'll like it. I think you'll like
loving this. I'm just like,
it's not bad, honestly.
Yeah, it really isn't. But like, did you end up watching at least one episode of Vandred yet, or no?
No, because I always get in the middle of the week and I'm like, what was the name of that show again?
Oh,
I'm gonna write it down this time. Let me write it down. I will get it. I promise. What was it?
Vandred.
Dread. Okay. I wrote it down this time. Now I can watch it. I'll watch it starting tomorrow. How many seasons?
I think it's just like a 20 episode thing. And again, you don't have to watch all of it.
Just one episode?
Yeah.
Or do you?
Okay.
Look,
I will watch at least one episode.
Yeah, maybe you get into it. But I did finish Ladies vs. Butlers, and I think in the end you'll
What's your score?
Barry's anime rating score.
Yeah. Out of
how many ladies, how many butlers?
Out of 13.
Ooh, out of 13. This is interesting. I guess I would go with an 8 or 9 out of 13, 8.5 out of 13. It's not bad. It really isn't.
Okay.
If it was truly bad and I didn't like it, I would not have watched it. Like that. Yeah. That's my feeling. Is if it was truly boring, I would have just turned it off. So
yeah. Same, because I started watching it too when I had seen that, I was like, oh, I should probably, they're like, oh, this is something you should check out. And then I was like, oh, I'm like 5 episodes in. Apparently I enjoy this show. Weird how that happens.
Yeah,
Love
it is. But I will go ahead and end the podcast here. I want to thank everybody for listening. If you feel so inclined, please leave a review, or if you could share it with someone you think you would like it, I would appreciate it. If you're on YouTube watching, please make sure to like and subscribe. First off, I just want to thank everybody for again, YouTube. I'm seeing a lot of success on YouTube lately, and I'm very grateful all of you are taking the time to either share it, whether you're watching for 1 second or a minute clip, or you're watching the entire time. The numbers on YouTube are quite encouraging to me, and I appreciate what we get on there. And comments.
Thank you, guys.
One thing I would like to do is if people want to ask comments, I will include it in the next episode, whether it's comments about the podcasts or questions you want answered live. That's a segment I'd like to do toward the end of the podcast. So if people could start commenting or something like that with questions, maybe what you think about a news story we missed, or a game we should try, or further explanation on a game or the movie that we hadn't watched. It can really be about anything. I'd like to get more people included, and I think there's enough people watching this that they should have a voice here too. So, tell us how. Make sure to leave in the comment. Tell us how we're wrong and that EAFC actually is the worst soccer game ever made, or that Lies of P is actually this technical nightmare that we don't understand because of our small
Relax.
Yeah.
Well, again, I thank everybody for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, guys.